Okay. Well, do my little backwards dance. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining me for another Chen style Tai Chi class. We've had a week off, so is it still all in the head and in the body? Let's see. Let's take right hand in fist, please. Left hand straight, and pull back the thumb. With feet together, we bring the hands together and we salute. It's lovely to see you. Let's get started. We open our stance, please, and feed into the four corners of the hips. Let's breathe. And relax. Have you been doing this as your homework? I have, actually. Not every day religiously 500 times, but you don't have to do that. I mean, it was great if you can, but just introducing it anytime you have time to spare. If you're standing about anyway, why not surreptitiously slip in this wee exercise? I've been known to do it standing at bus stops, in airports, even in a queue. I might not do it quite so big. You can make it more subtle. You can really relieve back pain and just generally get the energy moving a little bit. But this exercise, oh my goodness, it's just so beneficial. It is helping to balance out the muscles of the psoas. Psoas muscles are some deep muscles connecting the legs and the body together, and they go out of whack when we're distressed. So if you're not feeling safe or comfortable, those muscles try to pull us up into a fetal position, and though they may not succeed, we'll still be standing and going about our business. It is knocking our bodies out of alignment. So this exercise is designed to, as one of its purposes, it's designed to help to release and relieve those muscles so that our legs and our body are connected and functioning normally without that instinct to pull into a little ball. Let's change direction, please. It's also loosening the area we call the qua. And the qua is, again, that crease between body and legs. So it's such an important junction in Tai Chi, especially because we want all movement to come from the center of the belly, the dantian, and then it feeds through the qua before it gets to the legs. So if the qua is tight or stiff, then any movement that we make in Tai Chi is not going to happen properly. It's either not going to come from the dantian at all, and you're just going to move your arms and legs around with your muscles, or you move from the dantian, but it kind of gets lost on the way because there's too much stiffness. So this exercise is really useful in helping that lovely loose connection so that the movement actually will flow and the power won't get dissipated or lost or just get unused because of that stiffness. It's brilliant for loosening the lower back, so it helps with lumbago and with sciatica. It's just useful for circulating the qi generally and bringing mind, body and energy to work as one. It's helping your breath and your mind work with your body, especially if you're concentrating. So an amazing wee exercise. Let's come back to center. Let's open our stance a little wider, and we're going to keep the feet planted and we're going to sit back and down. Now, what do I mean back and down? I don't mean just bend your knees. That brings the knees forwards. We want the whole of the torso. Did you see that? The whole of the torso slides back. You can see my head, top of my head is going backwards. And yet, I remain upright. So that's what we want. We want to sit back and down, remaining upright. Look at my knees. They're not going beyond my toes. So we really want to fill that back. And then, again, the lower back is getting a little release as we turn in the waist. Can you see that my knees aren't going anywhere? My hips are not twisting, but I'm turning in my center. So if I turn to face the front as I do this, it should look like from the hips down you're a table, and from the waist, very loose, very free. Are you breathing? Good. Okay, up you come. Walk your feet in. And we do a much softer version, as if you're running your hands over the surface of water. This is sensitivity practice. Breathe and feel your way. Good. All right, back to center. Now, when I go training, the next exercise that we're going to do is the first exercise we ever do in training. And it seems similar to the first exercise we did today. But do you see the difference? We're allowing the spiral to actually flow vertically. So it means that as the hips are going forwards, the head is going slightly back. And as the hips are going to the right, the head is going to the left. And as your head is to the front corner, your hips will be to the opposite back corner. So we are allowing the spiral of those hips. It is in effect the same exercise, but this time we're allowing that spiral to express itself all the way through the body. So every joint here moves. You're allowed to soften your neck, so there can be a little bit of playful swirling, but don't let it be so extreme like this. Now, actually, depending on which master you study with, they'll do it differently. I think Grandmaster Chen does allow his head and neck to be a little bit more loose. And it looks more like a head rotation like this. Whereas his son, Yinjin, keeps it not stiff, but more bamboo-like. So it's not steel, but bamboo. So there's a bit of give, but he's very much just keeping the structure. Good. So have a play with this exercise. It is difficult, but with practice, like anything, it becomes very doable. Let's change direction, please. So this exercise is about connectivity and whole body release. So we use a word called linkage in Tai Chi. And linkage basically means that you're moving from center, but everything has to be lined up and connected in order for that movement to make its way through. So think of a chain link fence. If the fence is broken at any stage, then the sheep get through. And in our case, if the linkage is broken, then we no longer have that movement from center expressing itself through the whole body. So this exercise is very useful to see if there's any gaps in the fence. Where does the movement lose its connection? But it's also very nice for loosening, mobilizing, circulating, just generally getting the mind-body connection. Very good. So let's come back into the center, and we'll just take a moment to do nothing. Never underestimate the power of doing nothing. In Tai Chi we call it Wu Ji. So Wu Ji is the quintessential preparation. By doing nothing, everything instantly comes into balance. When we do nothing, we can actually observe and listen and experience the subtle changes. So when we move, when we act, we create a flow of change. We create a ripple effect going through our body. But to truly experience and process that ripple, we can then return to stillness. So stillness is great preparation and great recovery for any practice. Good, easing out of the stance. So you can think of it as an ocean of water. Our body is like an ocean, and every thought that we have is a wave, and every action that we make causes waves to occur. It causes ripples and eddies and things to flow. But while we're acting, it's very turbulent. It's all happening. It's all going on. It's all very much the reality of movement. However, if we want to truly absorb all of that good information, if we allow ourselves to become calm, it is like seeing the ocean as it sometimes is, in this kind of mirror, calm, flat state. So any of these little ripples and eddies then can be obviously expressed on the surface, as opposed to just everything churning and moving around like white water rapids. So I'm going to invite you to take a moment to have a rest, to take a drink. Here's my morning elixir for today. Cheers. I have a mixture of spices. It's hot water with cayenne pepper, fennel, cumin and coriander. And cinnamon. It's lovely, nice and warming. So it's like CCF tea, cumin, coriander and fennel with extras. Very nice. Good, very good for, yes, digestion. Right, so back in, let us do a little bit of more mobilizing for the legs. So you can see I put the ball of my foot down to the floor. That's the lazy person's way. If you really want to do it at your best, try to keep your hips level and go onto the very tip of the toe and then circle. So this requires you, by doing this, it sits your bottom down into the seated position and it forces the system to engage very fully. So there's not weight going into the toe, but you're not lifting out of it with the hip either. So that's the, if you want to do it right, we should always try and do it right, it's like this. Good, change direction. I want to do it right, sometimes I just can't quite get that hip level and then I go lazy. Good, little spiral and a shake out. Whew. See what I mean? That is hard work. To keep those hips level and to balance on the tip of the toe is much harder than just resting the ball of the foot. But let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, so we circle. I get a little bit of arthritis on the tip of my big toes, I think as a throwback from my ballet days when I was putting my full body weight on the tips of my big toes. Change direction, jumping on them. So this is a real example for me. If I put any weight on the big toes at all, I'm gonna feel it big time. So, so actually that will help me do it right. You don't want weight on the big toe. Good, shaking out. Whew. All right, and let's open our stances again. And we're going to again sit back and down. And we want the whole body to just go back like that. Don't lean either way, just sit it all back. And we're going to do one knee at a time, just doing a little roll inwards. See what I mean? So I'm looking at my left leg and I'm doing a little circulation. Now, it will create a figure of 8 going on in your hips. Don't worry about that. That's great, that's correct. But I just want you to focus on that little connection with the knee. Do you notice I'm not pushing my knee out? It's not this big wibbly wobbly thing. It is quite subtle. I'm just drawing a little rotation down through the leg. Good, and let's swap and do the same on the other side. So we're circling inwards and allowing those hips just to do their thing. Focus on the leg. And this is very martial. This is to strengthen your legs. So you're really working one leg at a time. If it hurts, we don't want that. So if you're working with an injury and it's agony, that could be that you're making it worse. So don't do that. So just do what you can comfortably, please. When you're in the class with a master, they will be able to help you navigate the subtleties of pushing it so that you're improving without actually injuring an injury. But when we're online, and I'm not actually in the room with you, and I'm not a master, so I'm just going to say, on the side of caution, if it's hurting, just ease off. Don't keep pushing it. Good. Do we feel that we're ready? Let's take a little stretch, shall we? Stretch up and release, and give the arms a little circle. Good, and the other way. And we're going to stretch our legs as well. Now, on Monday, a student asked me, how do I improve my kicks? How do I get my kicks higher? And actually he was kicking fine, you know, they were high enough. But if you look at competition Tai Chi, you know, you see people with their legs way up high. And yeah, it's not necessary. But if you want to improve your extensions, if you want to improve your kicks, and just generally, actually, if you want your Tai Chi to be good, we want to stretch our legs. And the Chen family call it the knee stretch. That's the stretch that they give us. So we're going to have our feet parallel, please. Yes. And we're going to kick gently, extend one leg forwards and bring it down. Now, the reason for the kick is so that we're getting a nice, neat stance. We're not opening massively to the side as we step forwards. Okay, and we'll do 3 circles. So we keep the heel down at the back, and we go 1, pump forwards, pump back, 2, and 3. Good. Now, bring your hands down to just above your knee. Keep the weight back. Lengthen the spine and hinge from the hips forwards. So the idea is that we are stretching the knee. We're keeping the weight back. Keep breathing. And hopefully you're feeling a bit of a stretch up the back of the leg into the hamstrings. Good. And to further that stretch now, we're going to release the toes, pull them back, take hold, same side, hand and foot, and if you can reach, pull those toes back towards you. Using the other hand to continue to brace the knee. Keep it nice and straight. Good. Put the foot down, feed the weight forwards, and up you come. And ease out of your stance. You can have a little shake out, and at this stage notice the difference between the 2 legs. Can you feel that? One leg has been stretched, the other leg hasn't. Notice the difference? Let's do it on the other side. So I'm going to show you it from the side view. We keep the feet parallel. Doesn't matter how high you kick. This is just to give us the correct structure, the correct shape. So we kick the leg and bring it down. Feet remain parallel, and we do our 3 circles, keeping the heel down at the back. 1, 2, and 3. We glide the weight back and the hands come to the knee. We or just above the knee. We lengthen the spine and hinge forward from the hips. So notice I'm not just collapsing forwards. I used to do that, but I realized that's not the exercise. We want to keep the spine straight. We keep the structure and keep breathing. Relax into your breath. Relaxation and breath are key for stretching. Good, now we're going to release and pull those front toes back. If you can, take hold. Continue to brace the leg with the opposite hand and breathe. Lovely. Relax the foot down, ease your weight forwards, up you come, and recover. Okay, so just give yourself a wee bit of movement. Now, if you're not used to stretching, or if you're just feeling particularly stiff, stretching can be quite unpleasant at first. So it's just a question of easing yourself into it, but doing it regularly. And it is important to stretch. Just any stretching is good because it helps the body remain flexible and it helps the energy to flow. So remember, flowing energy is our currency. It's your life force. And if it can't flow easily, then you will feel sluggish and uncomfortable. And all good things come from flowing energy. So stretching regularly will actually give you vitality. It will give you the ability to circulate your energy fully and more comfortably. So easy does it, gently does it, never force. Breathe, relax, and give into the stretch. If we try to make ourselves stretch like that, we'll end up tearing muscles, and yes, it will hurt. So gently does it, but regular stretching every day. Any stretching, anything that you can think of. Doing a bit of yoga even if you like, or just, any stretching is going to help you feel well in yourself. It actually releases endorphins in the brain. So stretching makes you happy. Maybe not as you stretch, but afterwards. So I invite you to have another wee drink or a comfort moment, and then we'll get into our form. So cheers. I'm discovering the delights of cayenne pepper at the moment. It's an amazing thing to have in your cupboard. Very useful for general circulation. It's very good for the heart, especially actually even if someone has a heart attack. Often folks think, okay, quick aspirin, but actually cayenne is better. It's better as a first aid for a heart attack than aspirin. So I hear from my research. Yeah, obviously you still want to call the ambulance, but if you can get someone to take some cayenne, even in a little sip of water, it can really help to reduce those awful effects. Okay, are we ready then? So we're going to have a look at our whole form. We'll flow through. We've got half an hour, so plenty time. So at the end of the half hour then, if there's anything that isn't quite working or flowing, or if there are any questions, we'll cover them then. So let's get into our form. I'm assuming that you're all doing your standing practice, so we don't have time at the moment in class. So if not, this is your formal telling off while I fix the curtain. But don't worry, it happens. We go through life. Excuse me. Sometimes we just don't get to do the things that are the most beneficial. So remember, every time you get a chance, as I say nowadays, if I've gone through the day without doing my stand, before I get into bed, my very last thing, I'll do a few minutes standing, and then at least I can say I've done something. So it's very, very useful. You will notice the difference once you start doing standing practice. Okay, ready? Check posture. Calming down. Listening behind. Ready? Start. Step left, scoop, gather right, turn palms, kick right, toy soldier, three-way punch. Sorry.
Keep the structure. Pull the right shoulder back. Continue. Good. You know, maybe a couple minutes in, I noticed a needle on the floor. I thought, oh, must remember to pick that up. Luckily, I didn't stand on it. Good. Well, I know the theme for me for today. Do you remember our warm-up exercises? And I was saying this is the lazy way, but if you really want to work, if you want to do it right, you go onto your toe. Do you see how I actually have to sit down further to go onto my toe? The distance of the ball of my foot to the big toe, I have to sit down that bit further to keep the hips level. I don't think I can do it at high. Well, I'm noticing, actually I have a door here to the side that has glass, so it acts as a mirror. I noticed when I was in certain movements, like white crane opens its wings, look, hip up. It needs to be down. So all of those times when we're doing a parent close-up where we're in that lifted heel state, the masters go onto the tips of their toes. So they're probably going a little bit deeper in order to accommodate that. But to do that, they're having to work. Well, they're not having to work a lot harder. They're probably so used to it, they feel it's nothing at all. But if I do that, I have to work a lot harder. I have to make sure there's no weight on the big toe and that the hips are level and that I'm not out here somewhere trying to take the weight. So I want to keep the structure. And it's very, 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 very difficult for me to do. I don't know if it's difficult for everyone or if it's because I have such wide hips it makes it that much harder. I don't know, but that's something that we can work on. So every time we go into that stance, get those hips level, try and get onto the tip of the toe, but don't put weight into it. Now, that's like in all Tai Chi, there's subtleties to that. There is allowed to be some weight into the big toe, but it's not the weight of the body, it's the weight of the leg. So it's not that you're having to focus on hovering your big toe on the floor. You're not. You can connect it, you can root it, but you don't want to be pushing
body weight into it. So if your big toe is hurting, you're putting too much weight into it. But again, as I say, we don't want to be bowing out on the supporting side. We want to keep that structure. So it's the same as if you were in a chair and then you lift one toe, you're still in the chair. That's what we want to happen. So you can have a little play with that. Oh, it's funny. It's almost always the left toe that is empty, but actually I find it a lot easier to lift the right toe and keep the structure. It's much harder for me. I want to go way over there, but we want to keep it. So that's something we can work on. Maybe in our next class we will focus on that, and we will highlight it each and every time we go into, it's called ding stance. Ding stance is that full on one side, empty on the other, with just a dot of the big toe touching the floor. Not to be confused with empty stance, which is the same thing, but the foot further out. And I noticed, as I say, with that, not quite mirror, but it's acting as a mirror, my hips were off when I did that. So when you're in empty stance, it's the same. We want to keep the hips level. We want to keep, as if you're on a chair, nice and straight. What your foot does shouldn't actually matter. So that's something to work on. Okay. Any questions, folks? Any comments? No? Okay. Well, let's just do a wee exercise for that then. We'll just do the beginning of part 3. So from our punch, and we'll just go to the first the first time we do that feeding through into ding stance, and then we'll have a wee warm down. So let's go into part 3, please. Sorry, part 3 starts from the punch. Yeah? Okay. I'll go back a bit. Okay, so we have our little roll and expand. Step through. Into the center. Through. Turn. Look at that, ding stance. There it is. That's, well, it's more empty stance, but keep the hips level. Turn. It's on 2 feet. And here we go. See if you can keep those hips level. Go onto the tip of the toe as you fill your back. Oh, and rest. Oh. Well, I don't know about you, but I feel that takes it to a whole other level and is much more of a workout. If you remember, as always, standing practice is the saving grace for all these things, because it will teach us structure. And if we're used to standing, you know, square and relaxing and keeping our structure, then keeping that structure and lifting one foot will be that much easier. If we don't do standing and we try to lift one foot, see, all sorts of weird and wonderful things happen. So let's have a little warm down, folks. Tai Chi is a path. It's not exactly a destination. We want to work towards the perfect form. But whoever has the perfect form, if you ask a master in his performance, was that perfect? He'll probably tell you, well, no, I need to work on, or I want to work on this and that. So it's maybe possible, but it's more that it guides you into mastery. It guides you into better strength, better control, better connection. That the form is the tool for mastery. It is not the thing to be mastered, though we're trying to. Good. But you'll find, even sometimes without any more information from your teacher, that as you're continuing practicing on your own and in class, all of a sudden something becomes very clear and very obvious. All of a sudden new awareness and insight comes. And that comes purely by practice. Conscientious, mindful practice, but practice nonetheless. And something that may have been clear all along but wasn't clear to you will all of a sudden present itself and chime in your awareness, and you'll be able to latch onto that and really gain a lot from it. So it only happens by just sticking at it, ploughing along, doing your best but relaxing and enjoying the ride, and good stuff comes. It just comes. Good. Let's go over the shoulders. And isn't that wonderful? And there's my wee alarm saying, stop teaching. Okay, let's shake out, please. And we're going to lift up the hands a little bit in front, floppy wrists, and a little bounce. If you want more impact, better bone density, you can actually thump down onto the heels. If you're feeling a little delicate, you can just bounce, not quite hitting the ground. Let all the floppy bits go nice and floppy. And swing and relaxed. Good. Well, just stand for a moment, please, lengthening up through the top of the head, the chin slightly down and back. Breathe and calm down through your body, and listen to the ripples. Listen to the sensations that come as a result of your practice. Enjoy them. And then let's gather the hands up and cover center. Hug the elbows in. Feel the touch of your hands, the warmth, the gentle pressure, guiding your awareness back to center. And feel your energy is stronger. Beautiful. Let's relax down. Folks, thank you so much for coming and joining me today. I hope you enjoyed your class. Xue San Ha and happy practice. Don't forget, some standing every day if you can. Thank you.